Welcome back to the Movie Bros podcast, everyone. This is episode 12, I believe. This is, again, the hosts with the most, Duncan and Hayden. This is,
I'm
again,
here. I'm
he's here. Hello. This is where we pick a movie once a week, or we have a randomizer pick it for us. Either way, we watch that movie, we talk about that movie, we banter and ramble about that movie, we beat it into the ground, and then we move on. So if you're new here, we release these every week. If you're starting with episode 12, you're doing it wrong. I'd say go back at least an episode or two to kind of get your feet wet so you know what you're getting yourself into.
definitely start with episode 11 if you have to choose one because we've only
That
semi-recently started with the audio editing. So past Logan Lucky, it might get dicey, but definitely go check out the other episodes if you're interested in.
Exactly. And you can also find us on Instagram at _movie bros. This is where we post about what we're going to be watching for the next week, what we just posted, things like that. Otherwise, I think that's all the buzzwordy things that need to be at the top. Hayden, do you want to just get into it?
Just to check off some more buzzwords, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that follow button, tell your friends, spread us around like the plague.
Yeah, I think that covers. So on Spotify, at least, a big one I find that makes a difference for me, just as a consumer myself. Like if I follow a podcast, great. But if you hit the bell, you actually get the little notification when
That is very true.
new episodes are posted, which makes a big difference.
Yes,
And yes, you
so
can.
ring bells,
You,
do all those things.
exactly. You can also rate the podcast. That makes it a little bit more.
Makes us look good when you're searching us up.
Well, it just makes us have a little bit more credibility, so maybe more people might find us and think it's not just some random two brothers talking about movies, which it clearly isn't just that.
I mean, we are so professional here. You have no idea. I'm in my own soundproof studio,
Well,
at my condo in LA. I'm a big deal, man.
all I'm saying is I think between the two of us, we have done the movie reps of seeing enough stuff to at least have some sort of opinion that is more than just the
It
like
was good.
average
It was bad.
moviegoer.
Yes.
Yes, I think we can talk more than that. That's all.
And the movie we're going to be talking about today is the French German-ish movie Anatomy of a Fall from 2023.
And this was chosen because I think it was on my HBO Max watch list, and I think I only put it on there because I saw some still or something on Instagram. I checked, and I think it did also win Best Original Screenplay. I
We
think.
so it did. We actually watched this through Hulu, so I'm doubtful you saw
Oh,
this on
Hulu.
Max.
Hulu. Dude, all the streaming service are basically the same exact thing.
I mean, and some of them have extremely forgettable dumb names like Tubi, Mubi, Freebie. Like it
Yes.
sounds slightly like
Yes.
a Dr. Seuss novel out.
Well, they have to be short so people can like. That's why HBO Max cut down to just Max.
Oh yeah, no, I
That's
I, I I get why. All right, so let me rattle off some movie fact information things in this, and then we can dive right in. So again, this was released in 2023. It did have a theater release, although I would be surprised if it brought huge numbers here.
I
For
don't think
better or for
so.
worse, the American public doesn't really like foreign films. This is written and directed by Justine Triet. I'm going to preemptively just say everyone in the credits list is French, and I apologize in advance for my American accent. Cinematography is by Simon Biaful, maybe? I don't know. Stars Sandra Hüller and Swan Erlon. There are other people in this. It won't help me to know their names. I won't be able to place them. It
Yeah, unless you got a picture of them with their name, I don't know if anyone would know that. Here, at least.
The trivia I have down, even though you mentioned it briefly, is that this did win Best Original Screenplay at the Oscars, but it was also nominated for 4 other awards.
Oh, really?
Without me telling you them, what do you think it was nominated for? If you had to guess.
I mean, best foreign film.
Not among them.
Really? Okay.
Not that I saw.
Cinematography
Not that I have down.
or any kind of music stuff going on, or sound mixing or editing.
So Ones I have down are Best Lead Actress.
Really? Best lead actress?
I understand why she didn't win, but I was absolutely buying her the entire movie. She was great.
Oh yeah, I mean I bought her, but I don't know if it was like yeah, I get why she didn't win.
Um, Best Editing, and then Best Picture.
I think best picture is a mistake.
I don't. I well, to be fair, I don't remember what it was competing against.
Well, regardless of what it's competing against, at least this is just me personally, but I feel like best picture is usually this a little bit more of a grand thing. And
Not all the time.
well no, not necessarily, but like I felt like it needed to not just like the scale or like the presentation, but like the themes and like the acting didn't see like this seemed like a subtle do you get what I'm trying to I don't really know how to explain it, but
I
like
definitely don't. Like I think this is one of the first times we're actually going to disagree. I thought this has, while yes, the acting is like it's definitely naturalistic. It doesn't mean it's subtle. I think this has really really great turns from pretty much everyone.
again, I'm not saying any of the acting isn't fantastic. I'm just saying like again, maybe this is me personally, I just don't feel like it hit the way that like a best picture would hit. I
Maybe
don't know.
so.
I
Again, I would have to see what it was stacked up against.
true true.
So for the people at home, or the people listening rather,
Ooh, I just looked it up. Sorry to cut you off, but was this a 2023 or 2024?
I have down 2023.
Okay, because Everything Everywhere All at Once won Best Picture.
Well, I don't. Yeah, well,
But do you get what I
that's a
mean
whole nother
about
topic on whether something
sure,
deserves to win or not.
sure, but do you get what I'm saying about like like grandiose like do you know what I mean?
I think it lost to something that was weird for the sake of being weird. I think this is just a little bit more
Did you
normal.
see it?
No.
Then how what
I've seen enough bits from it.
bruh.
I'm sure I'll get around to it.
Okay. Anyway, Jesus Christ.
So, generalized plot is that there is a man and woman living in the mountains with their sort of blind son. He either falls out the window or is pushed and is ends up dying underneath the window, hence anatomy of a fall. And then the movie revolves around a court case on whether or not the woman, whose name I can't
Whatever her
remember, but
name
is
is. We'll just
played by
say
Sandra
yeah,
Hüller,
yeah.
is guilty. So I guess I'll ask you this before we dive in: do you believe she did it?
No.
Really, I think she did.
Uh yeah, I don't think so, but that's the whole point, right?
I suppose. Well, I'm kind of glad we came to different outcomes. I feel like many of the things that we've watched and then talked about, we've pretty much been in unison of opinion. So I'm glad we're splitting a little bit here.
Yeah, I just feel like I've seen okay, let me preface it with I liked this. I thought it was good. I thought the acting was good. I have been playing that Pimp song nonstop.
I
Like
definitely have not.
it's so good, dude. Like that's how I start my day. Like I blast that in the shower. It's freaking awesome.
Okay, see,
Mm,
I'm kind of the opposite. I've been listening to a lot of Chopin. I like classical music, so
Jesus
all the stuff
Christ,
he's
dude.
playing on the piano. Oh, dude, I love listening to that kind of stuff.
Either way, like there's a lot of cool cinematography um where it was like over the shoulder of Daniel, the son.
Oh yeah.
Um but I just want to preface it by saying all those good things because I'm going to say some things you may or may not agree with.
Hey, I would love to disagree. Come on, let's go.
I would say yes, I think it was very realistic and that's what the that's great acting. That's wonderful. However, everything that was in the courtroom, I felt like it was missing something. I felt like it was missing and again, I think it was because it was structured and built as something that was supposed to be as real as possible that it didn't feel I maybe this is just again this is just me. I want something a little more thematic and it
So
did not feel thematic.
I think the way that you came to that is because there's no actual like movie music in this.
Well, it's not even just the music, it's just like the court courtroom is very just like,
It's a very
okay,
dry movie.
yeah, the whole movie, not even just in the courtroom. It's very dry, and
And
I
I
know that's on
actually
purpose,
really,
but
really liked that about it. I loved
sure.
the back and forth. So I really like that, but because so about 2 years ago when I was briefly out of work because of stuff we're not gonna get into, but when I
Mhm.
was briefly
Yes,
out of
yeah.
work, hey, um,
Hey, hey, hey.
I got in the habit of staying up late watching, like, murder documentary stuff on Netflix, and this reminded me of all of that kind of thing. 'Cause I really like the investigative side of those documentary series, and this really brought to light that I really loved how really realistic that came across. And in particular, there's well, I know there's a Netflix dramatization of it called The Staircase, I believe, but there was a real murder case where someone was pushed down a flight of stairs, was covered up by the husband, I believe, and said, "Oh no, she's clumsy, she fell," and it was a whole thing, very, very similar to this. And I loved seeing the similarities between the two.
Yes, I just felt like it could have been much more of like a I don't know, like, it felt like I would have had more impact, at least on me, if they did something a little more dynamic, either with the shots in the courtroom or like, they were just, like, blank, like, "Here's this person who's just gonna stand more or less right in front of the camera and talk about why this person fell off the shed and landed here." Like, that stuff is interesting, but you need to tell it in an interesting way, which I don't know if they did that. Which, again, I get why they didn't, because they were trying to make it in a more quote unquote realistic way, and that works for some people like you. It does not work for me.
So, okay, let me ask you this.
It's a no from
How
me, dog.
would how would you change it to fit into that criteria? Because I feel like if you were to change the mood from those scenes, the rest of the movie would then seem wildly different, and then you would have to reinvent the whole tone.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I would reinvent the whole tone.
Okay, well, that's an answer, I suppose.
I just think the whole movie needed a little bit more, like, a little more zest, a little more something something to it, you know?
You wanted more movie drama in a way that this felt, even at times because of the camera movement is shot like you're watching someone recording a cell phone video. It it does feel like you're watching a true crime dramatization with a high budget. And this doesn't feel very movie-esque, if you'll understand what I'm saying.
And I think also the whole it's in France slash French also, I think, added to that. 'Cause I feel like these, like, hard-hitting lines I'm sure if I was French, like, I would really they would hit harder, but, like, I'm having to just read them off the screen, so it doesn't have that same impact.
Oh, see, I was gonna ask, did you watch the sub or dubbed version? So you watched the subtitled version.
Oh, I almost never do dub. I always do sub.
Well, I mean, same here. I don't know what you tend to do with foreign stuff. I liked the fact that it was in French because it helped me accept that these were real people. You know, it
Well,
helped me
sure,
believe the acting because they weren't
and, like
in English. I feel like if this was in English, it would not. I feel like it would hurt my suspension of disbelief if it was in English. I don't know how else to describe it, but
well,
the
it was
fact that
also
it
because the
was
whole story
in
was about
French.
she was English and she lived in France. That's, like the whole it being foreign was even part of the story.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just saying. I think that that helps me. Like, if God forbid America decided to remake this, and I don't want them to, but let's say
I
they
can't
do,
see it happening.
I could recast the main actress with Kate Blanchett, and I think it would be interesting.
You could. Yeah, I could see that.
Or maybe Laura Linney, if you know who that is.
The name sounds really familiar.
You'd recognize her. In any event, I don't want them to do that, but I feel like if they were to do that, this whole thing being in English would take me out of the experience. It would hurt the story, in my opinion, I think.
So that was
So,
my first general thought of just these are my thoughts on the movie, but I feel like you probably has something more.
so as I normally do, I have my Word document up here, and I kind of just have my stream of consciousness of whatever happens to happen on screen. and I'll have a thought about it, I'll write it down. So I really like the way that the inside of the cabin, chateau, whatever you want to call it, is shot. It almost feels claustrophobic at times. Even
Yeah,
if
that's true.
even if the characters like aren't cramped, the way the scenes are set up gives tension in ways that wouldn't otherwise. Like whenever uh the main characters, I swear I know what her name is. I can't remember what it is. I literally just watched it, but whenever she's walking around, it is either from her perspective, like you're watching a POV, or it's literally like attached to her shoulder, and you can see her bump into things and move out of the way of staircases and stuff. It's very interesting in that respect.
Yeah, I can agree with that. The setup, especially like the blocking of the characters for sure.
Yes. So I have already and probably will continue to do so, but I really appreciate the amount of realism that they pumped into all of the scenes. The one thing that I don't think makes any sense is early on in the trial, the judge lets her go home.
I mean, they do address that where like that's pretty unprecedented.
Well, I get that it's unprecedented, but then if it's unprecedented, why would you let it happen? That's the only part that seemed contrived for the point of the plot. Like I feel like that's the only one that wasn't realistic. Like that
I mean,
to
it's for the
me doesn't feel
plot,
like it would happen.
but also, I mean, yeah, it probably wouldn't happen to be honest. But also, like the whole my son is basically blind. He kind of needs me since now his father's dead. I think it's a
Right,
good enough.
but like they establish that they have people that help her look after him.
Well, no, yes, but I think it's a good enough reason for the movie. But yes, I don't think it would actually happen that way.
Yeah. Um I wonder if this was shot on location or if this was
Oh, I bet
a
it was.
composite.
I bet it was shot on location.
See, because I think that the inside of the chateau and the inside of the courtroom are sets, but we get
Hmm.
the exteriors of the cabin shots
I mean, it's possible. I
because
haven't
of
looked
how
into it.
remote that looks, having to trek, you know, film cameras and sound crews all the way up a mountain. Sure, you could do it, but this doesn't scream to me, we have a huge budget and we're going to pay for that.
Yeah, it definitely didn't. I mean, it didn't give like low budget vibes, but it definitely did not give like, oh, this is a production kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, like it definitely feels like this was obviously very professionally made, but nothing feels flashy.
Correct. Granted, I don't know if that's
Which
because it's
is
French or what.
if there's anything about the past Olympics that we have been taught is that the French are flashy in many ways,
Even if it's not good, yeah.
even to their detriment. So I don't think that has anything to do with it. I feel like it was probably in service of the tone.
Who do you think is the uh protagonist?
Who do I think is the main character? I mean, it's hard not to say the woman, right? Like you know
Sure.
what? I'm gonna look up what her name is. This is driving me mad.
You could just say she is the woman,
I don't want to do that.
the accused,
Sandra. Oh, her
Sandra.
name is Sandra, and her actress's name is Sandra. That's why I kept thinking I was getting it wrong.
Yeah, it's just I couldn't decide if I was like, okay, is it really? Because yeah, it's generally focused around her, but a lot of it is so much really about Daniel.
I was gonna say like if the easy answer isn't her, then obviously the second choice is him. Because what I think one of the few movie-esque moments of the movie is that when things are being described in the courtroom, it is briefly shown from his imagined
Hmm.
point of view of how things would have happened.
Which at least I was here for that. I tuned in.
That was cool.
What else you got?
Um, this employs the trope of unreliable narrator, which we had mentioned before in the episode where we talk about true history of the Kelly gang. Lots of the things that Sandra ends up saying, especially in the courtroom, but even things that we are shown as the audience as the lead up to the fall actually happening, whether it's a fall or a push, whatever,
Hmm.
ends up not being real and ends up not being the truth. I think that's great. I really like that as a storytelling device, where as the movie goes on, you learn not to trust your pseudo main character. I think that's really interesting.
Yes, I just think it's sometimes, for lack of a better word, frustrating because I want to trust them, and I've got a idea in my mind based on what they've said of what the story is, and then when it's not that, it gets to a certain degree confusing, and then I have to think backwards or rewatch or reread or whatever.
Yes.
Um,
I don't know. I like that at least in some parts the script is challenging in that way.
yes, I sure. Would you okay? How would if you were casting this with an American cast, you said Kate Blanchett. Who else? Because there's not that many characters.
There really isn't. It's like a cast of 5 people.
So it's Sandra, Daniel, the lawyer. I think his name is Vincent.
Yes.
The husband and the prosecutor. Really.
Yeah. So obviously, I'd say Kate
Also,
Blanchett. Um,
just side note, fuck that French prosecutor. Like I know it's his character, but fuck that guy. Oh my god.
he's very frustrating.
Like
Like I get
again,
that
I
that's
know
his
that's the
whole
point.
point, but he's like you want to reach across the screen, smack his bald head.
Yes, exactly. Okay,
So
so
okay,
Kate Blanchett.
I do Kate Blanchett. I think I would recast Daniel with maybe Noah Schnapp from Stranger Things.
See, I was what's the kid from The Walking Dead, Carl? I feel like that he
He's
could
too
do
old
this.
now.
Really? Granted, I
He
haven't
was
seen
like in
him
his
since
20s.
never mind.
Well, then again, Noah Schnapp is aging out of being a child actor too.
Yeah, I
So,
was like, isn't
but
he not
I
a
would
child?
well see. I don't keep a mental list of child actors, man. I
No
don't know.
comment, no comment.
Well, why would I? So
So
I would
yeah,
say
okay.
him. The lawyer. I think
William Defoe.
maybe honestly, I was gonna say him, or I was gonna say, um, what's his name from A Most Violent Year
Oh,
and other
Oscar
things.
Isaac?
Yeah, I think he'd be good in that role.
Yeah, I think so too. I would put Javier Bardem as the husband.
That's a good choice. I was gonna say maybe Army Hammer if he wasn't ostracized.
I think I thought I saw something where he's now back in LA, potentially gonna do another movie at some point.
I was listening to celebrity news while I was at work, and I was hearing he was back in LA, but he was literally selling his car for money because he's broke.
I think he was selling it so it forces him to get back to work.
Either
Either
or, I think both
either
of those
way.
are pretty good choices.
Anyway, but yeah, okay. I think that'd be an actually kind of an interesting cast.
And then who would you cast as the dog, or would you just get another dog, or
I
would you
would
want
get
to
it out.
CGI the dog?
I would not CGI the dog. B, I would just get a different dog, and I would get it maybe. I don't know if I'm not a big border collie kind of guy. They're
It
cute,
was a
they're
very
fun,
pretty
but
dog in this.
uh, I don't know. It's got a
He
wonky
had a
face.
weird thing going on with one of his eyes. It's kind of throwing
Yes,
me off the whole time.
yes, that's what I'm saying. I was like, he had a wonky face, dude.
So I actually don't have that much more written on it. I just in general, I just really enjoyed it. So one of the things I've written down that I enjoyed is that as the trial goes on, the courtroom fills up more and more to show the
Mm-hmm.
passage of time and how it's become more
Mm-hmm.
interesting to the public. I thought that
Yep,
was a nice
I saw
subtle
that too.
touch of that too.
Yeah, that was
Um,
good.
yeah, so the dialogue to me feels conversational and natural, but you can clearly tell it's not being improvised. It reminds me of like Richard Linklater movies because
Hmm.
those are. I'm sorry.
No, no, I said as in like an agreement.
Yeah, like um, they feel naturalistic in the way that Aaron Sorkin movies don't. Even though I love that style of writing too. Like Sorkin movies are fun because no one talks like that. It's like hearing someone, you know, drink 13 coffees and then have arguments in Shakespearean. It sounds cool, but no one speaks like that in real life. This to me just after a while I was absolutely just buying that these were real characters and that doesn't happen a whole lot for me in movies.
Sure, I can understand that for sure, and I think there's a place for both of those kinds of things.
Sure, like I think if you switched it out for the more Sorkin-esque dialogue, this movie wouldn't work as well.
No, not at all.
Like it would feel unnatural because everything else is so grounded. So the last couple things I have are sort of spoilery. So if you haven't watched this, and I think I would recommend that you do, it's absolutely worth it to watch it through at least the once. I think it has low rewatchability
Yeah, it's
because
not a
after it's
rewatch.
done, there's not a whole lot left to dissect because the movie is about dissecting things. But there's there's a scene towards the end where Daniel takes the stage to make one last like entrance into the court records, and he talks about this memory he says he has where he talks about his dad driving him to the vet, and he has this monologue about
Mhm.
the dog and yada yada, right?
Yes, yes.
I I think that's made up because the scene before that, the Marge character that's
Mhm.
like looking after him has this whole thing
Yes.
about how if you can't tell the truth and you're caught between
Mhm.
two versions, eventually you just have to choose. And I think that's him choosing to believe that his mother is not a murderer, and therefore he makes up that story to help her out. And again, spoiler alert, she does not get indicted for murder because of this fact. And I think that for me leaves the ending feeling hollow because in my opinion you watch the movie wanting justice to be done because that's the whole point of watching a courtroom movie, and because in my opinion she walks free when she shouldn't have, it doesn't feel as satisfying as I thought that the ending of the movie would.
I do agree about it not being satisfying, and I do agree that I think it was potentially him making it up, but I understand the conversation with him and Marge and why they had it, and why he chose to do the thing he did, if that makes any kind of sense. So, like, it makes sense. I don't love it, but it makes sense.
Well, earlier you said you thought that she didn't do it, so are you saying that you agree that she did?
No, I'm saying I don't think she did it, but as a way of I feel like it's a kind of
Oh, okay.
a
So
weak way
as a
of
way of like fully making sure that the jury agrees with him, he makes up a story to help make sure
well,
that she
keep in
doesn't go to
mind,
jail.
the jury has to, I mean, that is this might be a separate conversation, but, like, the jury has to go with it beyond a reasonable doubt, and there already was a lot of other things that they showed that there was reasonable doubt. So, I don't know if they even needed his testimony at the end. That's
Maybe.
why
I would also say that we are familiar in a extended way with the American court system, and this might be different if it's in France.
yeah, that's quite true.
I don't know. I just to me that was like, oh, okay, well, that's the ending, I guess. It is what it is. It isn't what I wanted to happen, but that's kind of the only downside for me in the whole movie is that I thought the ending was underwhelming. Everything else I absolutely loved. In fact, I may go back and rewatch this to see if there's something I missed because with something like this, I feel like there might be, but I still hold with my opinion that I don't believe that for the average person this has a whole lot of rewatchability.
No, I do not that I'm saying I'm average, but I definitely am saying I probably won't be rewatching this, which
Well,
is so weird because
I
this
guess
is
maybe
something
average is the wrong word. I guess I mean the person who doesn't want to go secret hunting. There's not a whole lot of.
sure. It's odd that, like, this is something that I added, obviously, a while ago, and I kinda forgot, and then it's something that you end up really liking and maybe rewatching, which is just an odd occurrence, I guess.
Well, I mean, we've had similar experiences where I ended up adding "We're all going to the World's Fair," thinking I would enjoy it, and we both ended up hating it. That's sort of
Sure,
the
sure.
point
The
of
picker
the
wheel?
picker wheel. I'm using your words. Um,
You can also
is
say
that we are
randomizer.
exposed to things that maybe one or the other or both of us wouldn't have watched normally. That's the whole idea.
That's fair. Out of 5, concluding half stars, what are you giving it?
Oh, 4 and 3/4.
Really?
This really landed for me. I understand where you're coming from, and that this didn't feel as dramatized as maybe you wanted it, but I really really enjoyed it for what it was. Like I don't think I would change that much of it. I really liked it.
I gave it 3.5. Like, again, not bad. Pretty good. It's not a bad rating at all.
Yeah, I mean, no offense to you. This doesn't strike me as your kind of a drama.
No, not at all. Again, well, I could see if they did this a different way, like I was saying, I would be very much into it, but oh well.
I think when I think of dramas that Duncan likes, there's more drama in the drama. This is,
That's correct. Well,
for all
there's
intents
a
and purposes,
yes.
pretty cut and dry.
Uh, so it's only been like 34 minutes. I feel like there's some other things we have to talk about.
I
I think
definitely
we've got
agree. Starting right off the bat, me and you went to go watch Twisters. This was a second viewing for me, however. So let's hear your opinion on the Glen Powell vehicle.
don't you mean God, what's her name? Kate is her character name, but
Daisy Edgar
Daisy,
Jones.
yeah, it's really her vehicle, Hayden, which I'm fine with the really being about her. I'm okay with that. I know maybe some people are getting tired of the like girl power, every movie is a girl movie.
I
Just
so
putting it out there.
I know. I feel like this was, yes, it was that kind of a movie, but it was not so in your face the entire time
Mhm.
to where it made it unenjoyable. I feel like if this was like the Barbie movie and it was constantly about how, oh, men are out to get me and I'm oppressed and patriarchy and yada yada yada, I feel like it would have been more unbearable. But it really only extremely lightly touches on that fact.
Mhm.
And it
So more
really
than
sticks to spectacle and the sort of love story between the two.
which I saw in an interview there was like a heavy makeout scene that they did cut out, which I'm glad they did actually.
Yes, so the scene at the end where he stops her from leaving at the airport and he,
Mhm.
screws his car to the ground because that's legal.
Sure.
Um, in different versions of the movie before they decided to cut it for theatrical release, there's a kiss scene there. And I want to say Steven Spielberg, who was producer on this, told him, "Hey, let's not do that. It feels like it's going a bit too far. Let's leave it a little bit more reserved at the end,"
Mhm. Yeah, I like
which I think
that.
was a good choice.
All right, I'm just gonna quickly go through my thoughts, at least some general ones.
Go right ahead, because
Um,
I feel like I already shared mine like a couple weeks ago.
yeah, I think you at least referenced it at some point. I don't know. Oh yeah, because I think we were talking about what we watched that week, and I think you were talking Twisters.
I
Um,
was.
Glenn Powell is, I like him, but he's like too charming and too. Well, no, like, do you get what I mean?
No.
Well, he's like, oh, I'm gonna be handsome, shredded. Oh, and I'm also like rescuing this puppy, and I'm feeding the homeless, and like,
Well, again, this was a movie for women
well,
in the way that the other one was a movie for divorced balding men.
yes, yes, I understand that, and I think to a certain degree I'm okay with it, but I felt really bad for like the average. I mean, I don't want to say average, but like,
Like, I
what
mean, he
was
wasn't ugly. He was just not Glenn Powell.
I don't know. Anthony Ramos.
I've seen him in other things. I think he's a fun actor.
Oh yeah, I mean, I talked about this in my other podcast, Dunk's Movie Corner. By the way, just a little plug there. Um, that I think he's a good actor. I think he's kind of getting the like sidekicky kind of roles. Um,
Yeah,
and I think, granted, I think that is the character for this movie is not the main guy. So I think that's just what it is. Um, Also, Superman just being kind of a like
being a dick. Yeah,
just being a dick. And it pains me to say Superman because I feel like it just I know
it
that's a
is.
whole
It
other
is the reality in
conversation.
which we live.
I
You know,
know.
I'm not thrilled about it. You're not thrilled about it.
Eh.
Roughly, judging by the DC social media metrics, 60% of people are not thrilled about it.
Mhm. Eh,
But you
we'll
know,
see. Maybe hey, you know what? Maybe it's gonna be
things
great.
move on.
Either way, I thought I'm glad that we saw it in IMAX. That definitely was worth it. Uh,
Oh yeah,
the
it for sure boosts the
the
sound. It
sound and
sounds
everything,
great.
yes, yes. Um, what I think this movie did much, much better than the original didn't have that much Twister in it. I feel like there was a lot more human stuff to the older one, which I liked, but I don't know, this one felt like it had, especially with the special effects being obviously, 30 years later. Um,
Oh yeah, like the actual like storm scenes.
yes, yes,
Like
yes, yes.
for reference, after I saw it the first time, I went up and I found some actual clips of tornadoes and stuff. Like it is nearly the exact same thing. Like it looks 100% like what it would look like in real life. Like it looks great.
There are a few things that I don't love, the whole, like, girl with a drone, and I've got this quirky little crew. I'm like, I don't
Well, there was a quirky little crew in the first time.
I get it, but they're not Philip Seymour Hoffman, they just aren't.
No one is.
Or like, Cameron from Ferris Bueller. Like,
Yeah.
they're not
Well,
him.
what I think this movie smartly realizes is that pretty early on, it realizes that these people are not Cameron and Philip Seymour Hoffman, and so it doesn't actually spend that much time on them. They show up
No, it
in
doesn't.
some scenes for like color commentary,
Sure.
but they're not named characters. I don't even think I could tell you who they were.
No, no, I don't think so either. I'm just saying, like, obviously this movie is clearly only really centered around, like, 3.5 people.
Yeah,
Um, she's
I think.
adorable, she's super
Oh,
cute,
she's
she's a
super cute.
babe.
She's super cute. They
Um,
they
I
they they really play into her having like kind of like buck teeth a little bit. They make her look all gangly and skinny. Kind of reminds me of how um Laura Dern looks in the first Jurassic Park.
a little bit, yeah, I kinda got those vibes. Um,
I did find it weird that Glenn Powell's character just randomly shows up at her house and everyone's fine with this.
well, I mean, remember he's like, "Oh, I asked around," or whatever, I can't remember how he said he got there, but it's fine.
Still, it's just
Again,
like her mom's like, "Oh, there's a strange man in my barn. He's fine. Have him stay the night." But, I don't know, man. That seems weird.
what do I know the mom from? I
I
still
don't know.
hold on, hold on.
I'm looking to. Hold
So,
on.
literally, for context, folks, during the movie, I lean over to Hayden. I was like, "Where the fuck do I know this mom from?"
I'm looking. I'm looking. I'm looking.
That
That is
was
Mara Tierney. You would know her from.
Iron Claw,
I haven't
Beautiful
watched it yet, so
Boy,
it couldn't have
The
been that.
Report, Semi Pro. Okay, I've seen some. Oh wait, you haven't seen Iron Claw?
Not yet, because I don't want depression.
Oh, dude, hey, it is very good, but man, it is so sad. Oof.
I probably recognize her from Beautiful Boy.
Also very good and very sad.
Yes.
But I know you were saying the other day, I think it was when we were recording Logan Lucky.
Oh, she's in Semi Pro,
Yes, she is.
the Will
Yes.
Ferrell movie.
Yes.
That's where I'm
Yes.
thinking of.
As I was saying, at some
Sorry,
point
go ahead.
earlier, you were referencing that you don't want to hear or see Zac Efron in more movies.
I
You
don't.
should
I don't.
watch Iron.
I don't.
You definitely said that. You definitely said that.
I don't disagree with my past self. I just maybe want to clarify that opinion. I don't dislike Zac Efron, but as someone who grew up with the High School Musical movies, it is odd to see him now showing up as a dramatic actor. That's all.
I'm just saying, like, he was really good in Iron Claw. Really, really
Sure.
good. That's all. It's just a little side note. Um, I was pleasantly surprised with some of the music in Twister. Not all of the music, but some of the music.
Yeah. So when it's not the storm scenes, it has really nice, pretty piano stuff. It's really nice.
And then, it's just kind
Got
of,
a good Ghost of Culture.
well, there's just like a cut and paste of like, oh, let's sprinkle in sort of generic country song. Cool.
Not all of them are generic country songs, but
You know what I
yes.
mean, though. Like, if I put them in a row, I don't know if I could pick any one individual one out in a lineup kind of thing.
Perhaps you would not. I think I would be able to, but that's a difference in musical tastes.
Perhaps, perhaps.
Well, have you seen anything else recently?
I mean, I've seen quite a bit. Where
Not to steal content from your own podcast.
I mean, I recorded about I don't know, like 20 hours ago, so it's not like and it's already been posted, so it's not like people can't already hear this, but I watched both the Jack Reacher movies, not the show, the one with Tom Cruise. First one's pretty
Oh, those are
good,
fun.
the second one's kinda meh. And then I
Yeah.
just finished and rewatched 50-50, the Seth
Oh,
Rogen,
that's what that's
Joseph
from. I was like,
Gordon-Levitt.
yes.
Fun, but also kind of very sad.
So
Uh,
I showed Duncan this picture. I found a box set called 50 Chilling Classics. Essentially, it's a bunch of out of print bad horror movies from like the 60s and 70s and 80s. I absolutely love that kind of stuff. So I think I'm going to try and watch through the entire box set by the end of October. I feel like I
oof.
should. A the line I said to you is that this may be trash, but I am a raccoon and I live for this shit.
Well, more for you, less for me. I'm okay with that.
So I've watched the Milpitas Monster, which is a movie about a radioactive moth thing that
Mhm.
terrorizes a small town of Milpitas, obviously,
What
and
was that what
is
was that town's name, Hayden?
Milpitas.
Okay, when you say it fast, it sounds like something else.
It's not the Milpitas monster. I don't think that's a thing. And then yesterday I watched Dr. Tar's Torture Chamber, which,
Jesus Christ, Hayden.
based on that title, you think a lot more would happen. For one, there's no torture chamber. There's no blood. It's really an underwhelming movie, and they definitely just sold it on the title. I was
Well,
bored more than anything.
well,
Like
do I
you
have a
you
movie for you then?
you
Because
you have some women in the 70s walking around without clothes, but that's kind of a given for that genre. Other than that, it's a
no,
really
I have
uneventful time.
another movie that was boring and lacked a whole lot of everything. I watched the Super Mario Bros. Movie.
Okay, those are fighting words. I watched that and I really enjoyed it.
What?
I think as purely entertainment media, I think that's a great movie.
No, it is not.
It was really fun.
Hayden, you're a liar.
I'm not a liar. I would say that's a fun movie, and I would put it up with the two Sonic the Hedgehog movies. Those are all
Oh,
in the same kind of genre, and they're a lot
no,
of fun.
that's because they're all garbage, Hayden. That's the same genre of garbage.
I feel like you need to learn to appreciate something that's silly without being serious. Like
No, see, it
it's
wasn't that it was silly. It was I thought it was actually really bland as an actual movie. Like the plot, everything about it. The whole thing, and I know you're gonna want to interrupt, but I'm just gonna say let me finish my
I'm gonna
damn
let you
thought.
finish. Go right ahead.
Uh the whole thing literally felt like it was made just for the references and the marketing for Nintendo. That was the whole movie is just that. The only saving grace is just Peaches by Jack Black. And that's really the only thing in the movie that I actually was like, "Oh, this is actually a good thing that came from this movie." The rest of the movie is just like, "Oh, I get it. You're referencing this. Oh, you're referencing that." That's kind of all it is. There's nothing that was that interesting as a movie. There wasn't even that much good like escapism because there wasn't anything pulling me into it.
Are you done not enjoying things, or can I speak?
I'll allow it.
I again, I think you are going into this with the wrong expectations. It's a Super Mario Bros. Movie. It's a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. If you're going in expecting some kind of deep, meaningful, new new expansion of cinema and like, oh, I want to learn things. I want to feel Mario's internal struggle. You're going to have fun and laugh and point out the references in the exact same way that we enjoyed the Deadpool movie.
See, that's where it's different. It was at
Explain that to
least
me.
okay, so the action scenes in Deadpool and Wolverine actually interesting, actually fun and cool. The music choices wasn't just like random sprinklings of bullshit. Like it was fun. Like I did not have fun watching the Super Mario. I felt like I was wasting my time. Deadpool and Wolverine was not a waste of time. And yes, I'm trying to compensate and say maybe perhaps it's because I did not grow up with Nintendo. I grew up with Deadpool and I grew up with Wolverine. But I felt like, again, both movies are almost entirely just references and like cameos and shit like that. One clearly feels like it did it correctly, and the other one did not.
So, while the box office does not mean everything in terms of quality, and I
Hmm.
think we can both agree with that, it is worth pointing out that the Super Mario Bros. Movie made like $1 billion.
And who's the target audience?
People who grew up with Mario games and people who enjoy fun.
Bokeh?
Clearly, you are not one of those people.
Hey, I'm just trying to A, express my opinion, and B, I thought we were trying to have a little bit more of a debate slash argument, which you
And and
said you were ready for.
and that's
I was
fine.
I was
I
trying to come in a little hot, and you did not give me enough heat back. That's fine.
I I wasn't prepared to have to argue the validity of the entertainment value of the Super Mario Brothers movie. That's on me. Perhaps I should have prepared more. I I would just say that
Well, or like Speed Racer. Speed Racer's also kind of just references to Speed Racer, but it's also way, way fucking better, and you know it.
I'm not arguing with that. I that is a more artistic movie than perhaps the Super Mario Brother movie or the Sonic Brothers? The Sonic movies are, because I'm kind of grouping them together. But that doesn't mean it's a worse movie. It would be like, again, I to me, I think it's a very similar experience to the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. I just think you don't have as much of a personal connection to the Mario franchise as it will. So it doesn't mean as much to you. It doesn't mean that the movie is intrinsically worse.
Well, what I'm saying is, if you don't have that connection to Nintendo stuff, then the movie is not good. See, I feel like you could be not super connected to Deadpool and Wolverine. Like at my work, people saw that movie who had never seen anything else, and they still had a really good time.
That's
That's
because
why
they know who Ryan Reynolds is. That's less a
I don't know about
that
that.
that's less about the quality of D&W.
I'm saying D and W at least had like chemistry and charisma with each other. It's not, yes, the actors themselves, sure, but I'm saying like the way it was portrayed. Whole Chris Pratt as fucking Mario.
I'm with you there. I think
That's
both
just
he
bullshit, dude.
and Anya Taylor-Joy very badly cast. Peach is supposed to
She's
have a high-pitched
she's
voice.
fine. Like I could take her or leave her. Like I wouldn't
Like
be like, yes, this is the right choice. His is
she's
clearly wrong.
she does okay, but like she's
I
hired
like
because she was a recognizable name.
Yes, I like Charlie. Charlie Day as
Oh
Luigi
yeah,
feels right.
absolutely. I would agree with you that the standout performance voice wise is definitely going to be Jack Black, but it's Jack
But yeah.
Black. You throw him into anything, it's going to improve it.
Did you see? I think it was today they released
I
the
saw the Minecraft
Minecraft.
trailer, yes.
Ugh,
I have thoughts and I don't wish to sound angry right now.
that's fine. I'll be angry for both of
Um
us. I feel a
oh,
little
oh,
Vic
oh all right,
Vinegar right
fine.
now.
Let us jump into that pile. Um so I really really enjoy Minecraft. I play it, I don't want to say every day, but probably every other day.
Really?
It's it's
Really?
it's it's very very relaxing,
Ugh.
like in probably the same way that people play like The
Ugh.
Sims or
Ugh.
Animal Crossing or something like that. I really really enjoy it. And watching that trailer, a bit of me died inside because it is so completely missing the point of why anyone enjoys playing Minecraft. It's not an action-packed comedy game. It's a chill vibe game where you build things and you craft, you know, axes and you tame sheep. It's not okay. Also, it has
It is.
piglins in
It's
the
just the
overworld.
initial trailer.
It has piglins in the overworld. They literally die in sunlight. You can't have them. out of the Nether. That makes no
Oh my
sense.
god, Hayden, you sound like such a fucking nerd. Holy
I am a
shit.
nerd. This is who I am. This is not a surprise to you.
No, not at all. It's just oof. Oof.
Again, they have all of these mob types, which are only supposed to be in the Nether, floating around the
Actually,
overworld, you know, shooting up villagers. You got ghasts floating around. Why is that a thing? You can't bring ghasts out of the Nether. It
you
doesn't make
definitely
any
can't.
sense. You can't.
I think we gotta actually switch. Hayden, I feel like we're losing anyone because this is way too specific.
I don't care. You've brought this upon yourself.
Let's
I,
just
I'll
say
I'll
neither of
I'll
us are a
finish
fan.
off
Let's
with
say that.
um I actually have a problem with the way Jack Black shows up in this. He doesn't look like Steve. He's literally just wearing a random blue shirt. It doesn't look like any effort was applied to make him actually even closely resemble Steve from Minecraft, as everyone can probably conjure up what Steve from Minecraft looks like. It's not Jack Black. And don't even get me started on whatever hair and outfit choice they have given Jason Momoa, because
Yeah, it's rough.
oh my god, why does he look like a lesbian from the 80s?
All right, and that's what's coming up
I'm done with
soon.
that bit now. I had thoughts. Minecraft, why are you doing this?
Yeah, I have no desire to see it because, well, I didn't A, really play Minecraft, and B, the trailer also looks bad, so I'm out.
I have no desire to see it because I do actually play Minecraft and the trailer causes me physical pain.
And that's our thoughts. Uh, so this week again,
Swinging
we.
right back around to Anatomy of a Fall. Is there anything
Yes.
else you want to tack onto that now that we've gone on a tangent for 24 minutes?
No, I think I've covered it, everything I want to say for Anatomy of Fall. I think I've covered. Oh, what did you rate Twisters out of 5, including half stars?
I gave it a solid 4 out of 5.
I think I gave it a 4 out of 5. I can't remember, but
I don't know what I would want more in it, but I do feel like it's lacking something. But I
correct.
feel like that's a
Agreed.
very common opinion of mine.
Okay, well, I feel like
There
at this
there
point,
are well, speaking of nest cutting that out.
next episodes, cut that, cut that, cut that.
I don't know whether or not to leave in comments like that because okay. Yada yada that. Okay, so speaking of next episodes, we had originally planned on maybe doing 1917 next, but that feels like a really heavy, serious movie. And
Which
Anatomy of the Fall is already a pretty serious movie, so maybe we're gonna maybe shoot for something a little bit more lighter.
and again, I know you've seen 1917. I haven't, and I want to see it, but
No, I think this is
I
definitely the
do
right
agree though.
choice.
Yes, switching to something maybe a little even. It doesn't have to be inherently a comedy, but just something lighter would be
Yeah, I
ideal, I
mean,
think.
1917 is 2 hours of incredibly realistic depiction of World War One. It is grim. Like I'm 100% fine with maybe let's take a bit of a breather and watch something that just isn't literally 2 hours of that.
So tune in next time for another fantastical episode of the Movie Bros podcast. We've been your hosts.
I'm Hayden. That's Duncan. Feel free to check us out on all of our social media platforms that we mentioned, and we will look forward to talking to you guys next week.